All right, welcome everyone. We've got some people still joining, so I'm going to give everybody just a minute to get connected. It's like we've got, yep, the number's still growing, so I'm just gonna give everyone a second. But welcome everybody that's coming in. You are at the Gies Online iMSM webinar. We are going to be talking about the online Masters of Science in Management degree program through Gies Online. We are really happy to have you here. We have one of our student ambassadors with us to tell you about kind of the student perspective going through the program. While we're waiting here, you can see up on the screen, we've got a QR code for you. If you want to go ahead and scan that, you can connect with our team if you have further questions, or if you want to chat more after this webinar. That's a great way to do that. Okay, it looks like our numbers have stabilized here, so I think we can, oh no, maybe not, still counting. Welcome everyone who's coming in. I'm just going to go ahead and start our first poll here. I'm going to launch this location poll just to see where we have people joining us from before we do introductions. So if you're joining us on Zoom, go ahead and let us know, where are you joining us from? We've got some from the US, one from Canada, Asia, Africa. Nice. We've got a good variety of locations here this evening, or this morning, or this afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. That's great. Awesome. Oh, Europe. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah, if you're just joining, go ahead and hop onto that poll if you can. Let us know where you're joining us from. And welcome to the iMSM webinar with Gies Online programs. Wonderful. Excellent. I think we've got almost, we don't have Australia. We have almost every continent covered. So that is fantastic. Great. Well, we'll go ahead and get started then. Thank you everyone for being here. We'll just do a quick introduction. My name is Amy Simpson. I am a coordinator here at Gies Online Programs. I'm going to be presenting our slides today about the iMSM webinar. I want to go ahead and quickly introduce my colleague Marcus. He's going to be helping out in the chat and Q&A. So Marcus, if you want to say a few words here real quick.
Hello, everyone. Marcus Phillips, Associate Director for Recruitment and Admissions. I'll be answering the questions in the Q&A, so feel free to throw those questions in there, and we're glad that you're here. Hope you enjoy.
Great. Thank you, Marcus. Yes, and if you do have questions throughout the presentation, definitely, if you could, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see that Q&A icon. Do put your questions in there if it's easier to keep track of, and make sure that we're getting as many of your questions answered as possible. And then also, we are really lucky to have a student ambassador here. Mark is joining us from Thailand. So Mark, if you wouldn't mind giving an introduction of yourself and anything you'd like to add for the people joining us today from literally all over the world.
Well, hey, good morning, everyone. It is 7:04 in the morning here from Chiang Mai, Thailand. My name is Mark, and I am in the iMSM program. I'm set to graduate in July of this year, and I started in August of last year. So just doing the one-year program. I'm originally from Kansas and went to Kansas State University. And my undergrad was 2003 to 2007. So I'm kind of far removed from when I was last in college. But thank you all for joining, and looking forward to chatting with you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mark, for being here. It's a great way to learn about the program, is hearing from somebody who's going through it right now. So we're really happy that you can kind of share your perspective as we go through the presentation today. So again, for those of you who have just joined us, this QR code that you see on your screen now, this is a great way to connect with our team after the fact. If you have questions, if you want to chat more about the iMSM program or other programs that we offer at Gies Online, go ahead and scan that. I will have the QR code up at the end of the presentation as well. So if you want to scan it later, that's an option also, excuse me. So just to go over the agenda here real quick, we're just going to go through a program overview, curriculum and content for the iMSM, application tips and tricks, and then any questions that we have not been able to get through during the presentation. We'll try to leave a few minutes at the end to make sure we get through as many of those as we can. First, I'm going to launch another poll here really quickly, just in terms of your hesitancy with the program. What is the biggest thing holding you back at this point in pursuing graduate education? Is there anything that you're kind of, just sort of mulling over still? We've got options of, the online format you're not quite sure about, the cost, not sure on return on investment, time commitment, difficulty of the content or the program itself, other, or no hesitancy, I can't wait to apply. Wow, okay, no hesitancy. We've got a few people saying, yep, can't wait to apply, getting going. Cost, a lot of people are talking about cost. That's great. One of the really nice things about Gies programs, the online programs, we have a really low price point. So that's you're in the right place as far as cost goes. And we have a pay-as-you-go format, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So that's a nice thing too. Okay, awesome. We have 100% answered. So it looks like cost, looking at return on investment is another thing, time. So, okay, we've got people kind of spread out across all of those areas. And I'll try to address all of those sort of concerns as we go through the program. So thank you for that. That's all kind of good to know. All right. So let's look at online programs in general. So sort of 3 things to kind of keep in mind when you're looking at programs with Gies Online. We try to incorporate flexibility, stackability, and online by design. These are 3 of kind of the standout, really great features of all of our programs, no matter if you're going toward the iMSM in particular or another degree program or graduate certificates. These are all things that you're going to see across the portfolio of programs that we offer. In terms of stackability, what we mean by that is you can sort of piece together different credentials in a way that meets your needs. So we try to kind of meet you where you are in your learner journey and make it applicable and usable for you wherever that might be. So you can go from free online courses, or MOOCs, as they're called, on Coursera. You can do 4-credit courses, graduate certificates into a full master's degree program. And those actually build on one another. So you can use the credits that you're earning along the way from these smaller pieces and build them into larger and larger pieces as you go along. And you don't necessarily have to go small to large. And what I mean by that is, if you're someone who, let's say you have your MBA already and you're looking for just updating some skills, or you're looking to fill some gaps in your business acumen, you can take a graduate certificate to kind of fill those gaps. You don't necessarily need to start with a MOOC and work your way up. It sort of works both ways. It's not necessarily a small to large kind of thing. You can definitely use it, here and there to sort of, or if there's an area that, say you're being tasked with new responsibilities in your job and you're not really familiar with a certain topic or a certain area of expertise, you can take a MOOC or a 4-credit course just to get some more familiarity with that specific area. And that's one of the really nice things about this stackable build, is we kind of try to make it flexible so that it meets the needs of our learners, whatever those might be. Okay, so let's talk about the Master of Science in Management, or the iMSM program in particular. So with this online program, as far as cost, you're looking at just around $11,500 US. That does include all of your taxes and fees, excuse me, in your tuition. And as far as textbooks, written material, things like that, a lot of that is going to be found, almost all of that, in fact, is going to be found on the Coursera platform. So we have lots of people asking, well, what about textbook fees and things like that? That's almost entirely covered on Coursera. You might have, certain instances of a reading that your professor might require, something that normally can be found online. So again, digital requirements, and normally those are maybe $20 or something like that here or there. So this 11,500 is pretty much a total cost for the program. As far as completion, you're looking at 12 to 24 months. And again, this is where flexibility really comes in. So the pace is really tailorable to your needs. So let's say, you have a busy season at work that going into it, okay, the summer is my busy season. Maybe you can take a break for a term during that season to really focus on work. That is totally fine in all of our online programs. Vice versa, if you have a slower season at work, you can take an extra class during that season and sort of make up the time if that's something that you want. Or if you're wanting to really buckle down and get through it in 12 months in that shorter time frame, that's something you can do as well. So it's really kind of this flexibility that comes in with the scheduling, with the pacing, and that's something that our academic advising team can help you with once you're enrolled in that program. We do have 4 start dates for the iMSM: January, March, August, and October. So if you were to apply right now, you're looking at a March start date being the next start for the program. And then, excuse me, as far as representation, iMSM by the numbers, these are for averages. The average age of a learner in the iMSM program is 34 years old with 9.5 years of work experience. Again, these are just averages. There is no minimum work experience or age for this program. This is just to give you an idea of kind of the peers that you would be going into the program with. We do have a huge range of learners in this program. Some people, going into it with certain focuses on, leadership and management, or program management, product management, whatever your focus may be. Other people, they're earlier on in their career, they're looking to maybe stack this program into an IMBA, or excuse me, an MBA degree later on. So they're looking into the Gies IMBA online program, but maybe they're not wanting to do that for a few years. So they start with the iMSM, they want to get a little bit more work experience going, and then later on down the road, their plan is to pursue their MBA. So we have people going into the iMSM program with a lot of different goals in mind. We also have 44 US states and territories represented and 67 countries, as well as 76 Fortune 100 companies represented in the iMSM in particular. Okay, and then a management degree specifically. So we have a lot of people who are familiar with the MBA degree. A management degree, sometimes we have prospective students with a lot of questions. So an MSM degree is maybe not as familiar to people as the MBA. So we like to tell people kind of a little bit of general information about the MSM and who it might be right for. So it does provide essential business management skills. So it's kind of a good overview as far as business, excuse me, business management. And it is designed for working professionals, as are all of our online programs. And people entering the workforce, like I said, there is no minimum work requirement for this program. So it is suitable for people who are just entering the workforce as well. as well as people with more experience working professionally. The curriculum is built for practical application, so that the idea is you learn something, let's say in the evening, you're doing your iMSM courses, you're at a live lecture. The next morning you go to work and you can immediately apply that to your working life. So I want to kind of turn this over to Mark a little bit and ask you, is this, as far as ROI and, choosing this management degree, can you talk to us a little bit about first, why you initially chose the iMSM program? And have you seen, as far as ROI, these things, as far as practical application, have you seen this kind of ROI in your own experience in the degree program?
Sure. For your first question, the reason I started the iMSM program is that coming in with about 14 years of work experience previously, I'm in the nonprofit sector with a little mix of corporate IT support along the way. But I feel like I applied because I wanted a master's degree. But in terms of flexibility and accessibility, it's hard for me to do so. Living abroad on a different schedule, having a young family and having to continue the career. So when I learned about the iMSM and the iMBA, I was trying to decide like which one would be the best fit, and I decided the iMSM because if you plan to do it in 1 year, you can do so, which is what I'm trying to do. And the cost is very accessible, and it's something that I think cost was probably the biggest barrier for me since I graduated from my bachelor's degree in 2007. It took so long to get a master's degree, probably because of price. So when I noted the low cost here and then what is being covered, it seemed like a number of topics and skills that I need to use in my everyday work life. For some context, for the first 8 years or so of work experience working for nonprofits, I did program work, meaning I would work directly with beneficiaries. So I would do financial literacy projects, income generation, agriculture, like setting up and working together with people you want to help. But in the last 5 years or so, I've been doing operations, which is kind of back end. So bookkeeping, accounting, finance, IT, HR, all of these back end type of things. So in terms of ROI and what I've been able to take just since August when I started the iMSM, I've noticed 4 or 5 times already where both big things and small. So small things, for example, from the management accounting class that I took at the end of last year, I noticed a few ways to plan and prepare budgets that has helped me in my job. And then in terms of leadership and managing an organization, those 2 courses, I found several takeaways in terms of making an annual plan, in terms of working together with teams and how to best make sure that everyone in the team is getting input and becoming part of an annual plan in terms of projects. So yeah, it's definitely been worth the time and worth the money so far. I feel like for someone who's coming in from my kind of position where I've been in the workforce for a while, haven't been to school in a while, the courses, so management, marketing, accounting, finance, they're really, really good refreshes on tools and on strategies on how to deal with things. So some of these things I might have heard or studied like 20 years ago, but it's really hard to apply that when it's been so far away. So it's been pretty helpful so far.
Great. That's always wonderful to hear, that the things that are our goals when we're recruiting people and talking to people about these programs, that they're actually happening in the real world, and that they're actually still applicable to current students. So that's fantastic. And you made a really good point as well about living overseas and still being able to complete the program. So again, with the flexibility, that's one thing that we always want to reiterate. I talked to someone earlier today actually about that too, that it is a truly global program. It's convenient being online and not having to be in a certain place at a certain time and things like that. But it's also, there are a lot of accommodations for people in different time zones and things like that. And I think that's one aspect that people don't always realize, is that flexibility applies throughout the program. So whether it's the timing of the live lectures or the matching up of people doing team projects, things like that, that's all taken into consideration within the degree programs. So it's very possible, and people do thrive regardless of where you're geographically located across the globe. Definitely. So in terms of the curriculum and content of the iMSM program, this is kind of just an overview, and you can certainly find a lot of detailed information about these courses on our website. And I would encourage you to look through that and really look at the details of the courses if this is something that you're interested in, and kind of look at more of the course descriptions and see sort of where the courses go and sort of what focuses might be beneficial to you in your role or in your plans for your graduate education. But you would be completing 36 credit hours, so 24 core curriculum hours and 12 elective hours. And you can see the list here of what constitutes the core curriculum and your elective options. So these tracks that you see here: global challenges in business, data-driven decision-making and communication, and business value and project management. These are suggested elective tracks. You don't necessarily have to choose one of these three. You can also build your own. So again, going back to that flexibility, these are not required. It's just that if one of these tracks happens to resonate with you, these are sort of pre-built to kind of help make it easier for you to choose courses. But if you want to kind of mix and match, if you want to try to build your own, if you see a grouping of courses that would better suit your role or your goals, you can definitely build your own elective grouping to meet the requirements of the program.
Yeah, and from my end, just to dig in terms of how I approached that, those electives you see on the right, those are like little groupings of classes. Those aren't specific classes, each with credit hours, and they're suggested. So if you want to focus more on courses like global challenges or working globally, things like that, you can do it. In terms of how I approached it, I looked at specific classes and what I thought was most appealing to me, as opposed to doing just one set track. So I took a coding and R class, and I think a data visualization class, and those fell under the data-driven decision-making one. But I didn't do all of my electives from data-driven. I kind of just picked and chose as I went.
So you kind of created your own track, so to speak. You sort of mixed and matched, and you didn't choose one of the predetermined or pre-grouped tracks, I guess, for your degree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. I figured why not choose just the specific courses that looked really applicable or just interesting, like something I could learn something new from. So like the coding and R class, I had never done any coding and had zero exposure and experience. And it really did open up a world of okay, so that is an entire career in data science and being able to visualize graphics, and that's something that people could really spend their whole life focusing on. And there's probably a lot of career opportunities if one were to focus on that. So yeah, it was interesting to learn.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's definitely, again, going back to the stacking, that's a perfect example of where you kind of get into a topic or a field, and you can find other related courses, whether you do a MOOC on Coursera, or you find a graduate certificate that's sort of more in that direction, and you can kind of build onto it, and you have a little, a little foothold in that area where, maybe you don't pursue an entire degree in that area, but maybe you have, an interest there, or it affects your job, your full-time job, or whatever it may be. So that's a perfect example of how that kind of thing might develop for someone. Definitely. So in terms of the way the program is structured, we have kind of two components. So the Coursera component is your asynchronous component that we a lot of times will refer to as sort of the textbook side of the iMSM program. So this is where you're going to find pre-recorded videos, self-assessed quizzes, assignments, peer evaluations, and a lot of the reading material for the program. So these are things that if anybody who is on the webinar now, if any of you have taken Coursera courses, you're familiar with this component of the degree program. It's basically the same thing that you would have done through Coursera. And it is kind of on your own time, sort of self-paced. And as I said, it is asynchronous. The other side of that, the Illinois side, is what we call the high engagement component. And this builds on that MOOC, or the Coursera component. It's going to include your live lectures, interactive team and group projects, case studies, peer-driven discussion, and your faculty office hours. So this is the side of things where you're going to have that interaction with the Illinois faculty, and it's more of that engagement that makes it the, sort of that online by design portion of it, where you have that opportunity to really learn and have that back and forth with your peers, as well as the faculty in all of your courses. So Mark, can you speak a little bit to these sort of components and how they work together, and what your experience has been, engaging with Coursera versus the high engagement Illinois components?
Sure. In terms of content or takeaways, the Coursera MOOCs have a lot of the core content of what's being learned in the course. And they're kind of like, for me, they're the first step each week. Each module or each week, it kind of restarts every Wednesday. So I start by doing all the Coursera, all the video, going through all the quizzes, etc. After that, I kind of look through the agenda for the week and the assignments, everything outside of Coursera, what needs to be done. So then I try to get a plan on how I fit that into my work week and into my weekend. And then I kind of start working little by little on some of the assignments. There's a live lecture once a week as well. And there's 3 different times you can choose to try to attend. So the same professors, or sometimes a course has 3 professors all working together. Each one will do 1 session. And then you try to find the best time and the best day to attend. So I will do that as well. One of the key points about flexibility about the lectures is if you can't attend any of them, let's say you're getting slammed at work, your child is sick, which has happened several times in the last 6 months for me. It's just, for whatever reason, you can't do any of the sessions. You're sick, maybe. They record all of the sessions and then put them onto the class kind of website where we keep everything, and you can go watch the live sessions later. That's immensely helpful. So that's just another point about flexibility. And then case studies and group projects are time commitments that you need to make sure you stay on top of over the weekends, especially. But those are where a lot of the kind of practical experience, a lot of the practical takeaways are done. So those have been quite helpful in terms that they're a challenge for sure, but they're very, very helpful in terms of like what you can take away with you and to your career. Then the office hours are kind of the ace in your sleeve in terms of when you're having trouble with assignments, when you're conceptually you want to ask more questions. You can attend those office hours, which are also like Zoom calls with professors and with staff. And even if you don't have a specific question, sometimes just logging in and listening to everyone else ask their questions and go through the concepts or go through specific questions on the homework or on the case studies, it's really, really helpful to make sure you're understanding things correctly. So yeah, they're each component has a different kind of feel in terms of how you have to set up your routine for the week and how you set up your strategy on how to get through each class. But it all does kind of fit together in a smooth way. Nothing feels redundant or duplicated in terms of what you're going over. For example, in the live lectures aren't just kind of repetition of what you looked at in the Coursera course. They're more really engaging, making sure everyone's trying to apply what's being discussed and what's being learned in the Coursera videos. So yeah, you definitely need to make sure you're on top of each component and that you have a strategy to get through each week on how you address each class and each component. Yeah.
Great, thank you. That's really good feedback, because I think there is some confusion sometimes about how it actually works in practice. It's kind of difficult to explain that sometimes from from an outside point of view. So that's really helpful. Thank you. And again, you kind of bring up a good point as far as referring back to the materials. So that Coursera component, that asynchronous component, is always available there for you to refer back to, again, sort of like a textbook. And I'm glad you mentioned the fact that if you're, for some reason, whatever reason that may be, if you're not able to attend a live lecture at the multiple times that are given, you do have that available as a recording after the fact as well. We have a lot of people ask, oh, if I sign up for a certain time and then something happens and I'm not able to make it, that's super flexible as well. So you're not locked into a given time. I don't believe you actually even have to sign up for a certain time. It's just a matter of, okay, you have these 3 or however many times are available provided for you. You pick one, and the feedback that I get is that most people prefer to participate in those live lectures just because of that engagement and that discussion. It's kind of more of just that interaction people find very, very helpful. But if for whatever reason you can't, or you're not available, or something happens, those recordings are available to you. So the same thing, or if you just want to refer back to it, if you had to step away, or if you want to try and get some clarification, you can always go back to that recording and watch it again. I can't quite remember what the professor said. I'd like to go through that one more time. Those are also, a good reason to have those recordings available to you. So those are good options as well. Great. Then I wanted to go through just Gies Online in general, as far as the presence that we have. Nationwide, we have over 6,000 online students with more than 3,000 alumni. We have reached all 50 states at this point, so that's very exciting. We had 1 or 2 that we were waiting on, so we're very happy to be able to fill in the entire U.S. map. So we have students all over the U.S. now, and worldwide we have 99 countries represented. So you would be joining a huge alumni network, and this is of course in addition to I think it's something like 500,000 University of Illinois alumni worldwide. So there is a very large alumni network, and Gies Online and Gies alumni in general are very enthusiastic about networking. And a lot of people ask, how do you network in an online degree program? And that's an interesting question. And because it is a global program, it actually gives you some unique opportunities to network that I want to talk about just really briefly. So we have some Gies-led opportunities. And these are some examples of that. So we have iConnects, immersions, and iConverge. iConnects are going to be things like sort of in-person meetups with a professional development aspect. So let's say, our team, faculty, staff are at, a workshop, or maybe we're at some kind of event, and we say, hey, we're going to be in this area. We would love to have, I think there's one coming up or we just did one in Houston. There's one coming up in New York. There's one coming up in Chicago. And just as we travel, we kind of say, hey, we're going to be in this area. We would love to see you, come out and meet us at this location. We're going to have dinner. We're going to have this speaker. They're going to speak about this topic. So iConnects are usually for current students, alumni, to come and have some kind of, meet and greet, also some kind of speaker involved. Immersions are where students would get together and have the opportunity to work on some sort of case study. So either domestically or internationally, and these can be virtual or in person, where you would work with a company, again, either digitally or on site for some kind of real world problem or project that they're encountering. And then iConverge is an annual event that we hold here on campus in Champaign, Illinois, where we invite current students and alumni to campus. And the past iConverge, I think we had over 500 participants come to campus and meet one another, which is a really interesting opportunity to meet people that you've been in class with online, meet them in person, come and meet the faculty, meet the staff. And again, there's always a professional development aspect to that, as well as, of course, networking. And it's usually over a weekend. So we try to, put together football game tickets and things like that. So there's a little bit of fun involved there as well. And there are lots of student-led opportunities there too. So we use a social networking platform called Workplace that's provided by Facebook. So it functions in a lot of the same ways as Facebook, but it's an exclusive platform for Gies students and alumni, where people will post things like job listings, or there have been a lot of tech layoffs recently. So people will post, hey, I've been affected by this. If you have any openings, let me know, get in touch, things like that. Or I'm interviewing with this company. Does anybody work there? Do you have any insight? Or people who are still in one of our degree programs will post, I'm working on this project. Does anybody have any feedback, or can I bounce some ideas off of you? Would you like to get in touch? It's a really great resource for those kinds of things. We also have student-led meetups where, students will say, hey, I'm going to be in this area. Is anybody around? Do you want to grab dinner? We've had some really interesting stories about students or alumni, having layovers in different cities, and some of their classmates will pick them up at the airport. We've had people give them tours of, their business facilities and things like that. And it's been, we get pictures and things, and it's a really, kind of interesting how you meet people from all over the world and you end up in a Boeing factory and things like that. So those are nice ways to keep in touch with people, and sort of utilize that network that you're getting throughout the Gies, alumni group. And then, of course, group work. Group work is going to be part of any degree program or any course that you're taking through Gies Online. And those, of course, encourage discussion and learning from your peers and getting that conversation going, because you have a lot of resources available just through the people that you're working with. You know, people are coming into the programs with a lot of different experiences and career knowledge. So that's a great opportunity for networking just within your courses themselves. So touching a little bit on immersions, these are just some pictures and some quotes from a recent immersion. This was in Seattle. And you can see we always try to take a group picture and, you know, get pictures of some of the outings and things. And again, this is just kind of a unique opportunity. If you can imagine, you know, being in these online courses with people and sort of having discussions and seeing them on Zoom, and then having the opportunity to go somewhere in person and, you know, meet them in person and work on a case study and sort of have that, you know, bring that opportunity or bring that experience to life a little bit. It's a very exciting thing. And our students really enjoy these immersion opportunities. Mark, is that something that have you been able to do an immersion, or is that something that's been on your, you know, on your radar at all, or in your plans with the iMSM program?
Not yet, no. In terms of networking and connecting with people, I unexpectedly ran into another student in my leadership class that lived in the same city I do in Thailand, in Chiang Mai. So
Oh, wow.
that was cool. And then another student, he's in California, I think, but his parents live here. So we've been able to connect in that way, but I haven't done any of kind of like the immersion or like planned events or anything so far yet.
Okay, great. Well, it is, these are completely optional. So that's one thing that I always like to reiterate as well. So the degree programs and graduate certificates and MOOCs and any credential that's offered through Gies Online is 100% online. So you can definitely complete those credentials without participating in any of the in-person or on-site things. So these immersions are completely optional, and they're kind of an additional sort of add-on to any of the degree programs, but they are a really great networking opportunity that is available to our students. So we just like to you know, make sure that people are aware of those as well. Oh, sorry about that. Then iConverge 2022, as I mentioned, we had 500, a little over 500 students and alumni, 38 states represented, 17 countries, and 22 faculty in attendance. These are a couple of pictures. This was a lot of fun. It was really fun to just see people's reactions as they recognized one another and saw people in person, and, oh, you're taller than I expected, and, you know, things like that. So that was a lot of fun. And people really enjoyed, you know, getting to know the faculty on, you know, kind of a more casual level, and, you know, getting to just sort of spend the weekend all together and talking. And that's a really great thing to participate in too, if you do get an opportunity. And then workplace, some great, I think this picture here on the right is the example I was talking about, actually, with oh, it was Airbus, I apologize. With the Airbus tour, I think this was on a layover where these two IMBA students got together. That was a really fun story that we heard about, and stories about people being, you know, getting their degree while being a busy mom and things like that. So workplace is a great way. And this, all, you know, things that we see on workplace filter over onto, you know, LinkedIn, and people connect on there, and you know, all the other via email, and all the other connections and resources, you know, that people have, being a very digital heavy you know, world and program that we're in. And again, just some pictures from various student meetups. These are just groups of people who kind of said, you know, like you just mentioned, oh, hey, we happen to be in the same area, let's get together, let's you know, let's do this thing. All right, we are running a little short on time, so I'm gonna just kind of give you some more of the logistical information here. We do have a student and academic success team. So this team is going to help you as an enrolled student They're going to help you with all of your advising, so degree planning, one-on-one appointments. They provide email support, things like planning your overall timeline of when you're going to complete your degree. So again, with that flexibility, if you need to take a break, if you need to speed things up, this is the team that you would go to for those kinds of concerns or changes or questions. Okay, and application requirements. So this is just sort of an overview of what's required for your application. Resume, obviously, you know, kind of keep it simple. 1 page is ideal, 1 to 2 pages. And then academic history, we would need all transcripts or mark sheets for any degree that you have obtained. For the application, all of that can be unofficial. So later on, if you are admitted, we would need official transcripts. But at this point, just for your application, unofficial is fine. So if you just, you know, if you have a picture or if you can take a screenshot from an online account at your university, those are all things that you can upload to your application just fine. A personal statement, all of the statement prompts are in the application itself, so you can find those all together. We also have optional essays, space for optional essays. These would be things like if there's any area of your application that you feel needs more support. So, for example, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, but you have a lot of professional experience and you feel like that could kind of offset the fact that you don't have a bachelor's degree, go ahead and write up an optional essay and kind of, you know, state your case. That's a perfect platform for it. Or if you, you know, if you have some kind of special situation, that's what that optional essay is there for. We do evaluate all of our applications holistically. So we're looking at your entire application as a whole. So if there's anything that you just feel needs further explanation or more support, include that in your optional essay. Same thing with low undergraduate GPA. We have a lot of people who are going back to school after a longer period of time, and maybe their undergraduate GPA is not what they are hoping it would have been. And you know, that optional essay is a great way to say, hey, this is how I have grown. This is how I've improved. Maybe I've taken a graduate course here and there and I got a 4.0. And that undergraduate GPA does not reflect on my work ethic now that I'm applying for this iMSM program. That's a perfect place. That optional essay is where you would sort of explain that situation as well. You do need 2 professional letters of recommendation. We recommend that these be from a supervisor, an immediate supervisor, or if you're someone who's coming straight out of undergrad, this could be from someone like a professor, someone who kind of oversees your work in some way that could sort of vouch for, you know, your work ethic or your performance in some way. Again, if you have a special situation where, you know, maybe you own your own business and you don't really have a supervisor who could vouch for you, optional essay, that's a great way to explain that situation and why maybe you have a client who's writing you a recommendation instead of a supervisor. If you are an international applicant, excuse me, and Marcus, maybe if you have a second to put the link for international applicants, there are a couple of things that may apply to you as an international applicant. If you have a TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo score, as far as English proficiency exams, you can upload those, or an English proficiency waiver essay is also an option. And there are some sort of exceptions to that that you can find on our website. And I think Marcus just posted that. You can kind of read about that and see what situations apply to you and you know where you fall as far as that if you are applying from overseas. GRE and GMAT scores are optional. So if you have taken either one of those tests and want to upload those scores, great. That's just another data point that we can use to evaluate your application, but they are not required by any means. So if you have not taken them, do not let that keep you from applying. Go ahead and apply because they are completely optional. Scholarship essay, excuse me, scholarship essay is required if you're applying for a scholarship. If you are applying for spring, the scholarship deadline has already passed for spring, unfortunately, so that would not be a factor at this point. But if you're applying for one of the later intakes where a scholarship is available, the scholarship essay prompt is in the application itself as well. Okay, and as far as the application review, excuse me, our admissions team reviews your application materials. And normally there's a 1 to 2 week kind of processing period in between each step. So normally within 1 to 2 weeks, you will receive a response. Depending on when you apply and sort of what start date you're applying for, will kind of determine the timeline and when you're going to receive a response. So if you're applying now for fall, it might be a little bit before you receive a response versus if you're applying for spring, if that makes sense. But we do evaluate applications, as I said, holistically and on a rolling basis. Okay. And again, we are taking applications now for spring 2023. For iMSM, we're looking at a March start, and the next deadline, actually the final deadline to apply for March is February 2nd. So the sooner you apply, the better. The sooner you apply, the sooner we can get back to you. And definitely note that application fees are currently waived for spring applications. So you can actually apply now for free, which is really great. That is I believe it's a $70 savings if you're applying from the US and a $90 savings if you're applying internationally. So if you submit your application by February 2nd, you can take advantage of that application fee waiver. And the sooner you apply, if you are accepted into the iMSM program, you will get access to networking platforms, including Workplace that we talked about briefly, as well as Coursera, so you can get a jump start on that Coursera component, kind of that textbook component of the program. And then also register for your classes. As soon as you're accepted, you can get started on enrollment and things like that. So you can sort of get a jump start on those things and be fully prepared for when classes actually start in March. So I would encourage you to, if you're interested and you're ready to start the iMSM program, go ahead and apply. Keep in mind that you do need to submit your application by that deadline. All of our deadlines are by Central Time, so Champaign, Illinois campus time. So that deadline would be February 2nd at 11:59 p.m. So just before midnight on that deadline date. So while we're here, I want to go ahead and launch one more poll here. Just kind of about your plans at this point, now that we've been through, some of this information, kind of where you're at, how you're feeling about this application process. Are you interested but not quite ready to apply? You're planning to apply in the next year. You've already started your application, or maybe you're a newly admitted student and you just kind of wanted a refresher and make sure you're not missing anything. So go ahead and participate in that poll if you would, please. Otherwise, we will kind of start wrapping up. Again, Marcus and Mark, thank you both so much for being here. Mark, did you have anything to add? And then Marcus, did we have any questions in the Q&A that you wanted to go through here just in the last couple minutes?
like Mark covered, there were some questions for Mark as a learner, but he did a great job of answering those questions within the chat. So I think we're good.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, then thank you everyone for being here. We've got that QR code here. I'll throw that up just really quick. Otherwise, Mark, thank you so much for your perspective and just for being here with us today. And I will wish you all a good evening, and we will hopefully see your application soon.
Thanks a lot. I was happy to join. Everyone have a good one.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.